Well, hello, everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome Jani Kozlowski. Jani is a technical assistant specialist for the Early Childhood Technical Assistance Center with the Frank Porter Graham Child Development Institute at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Previously, Jani served as the inclusion lead for the Office of Head Start National Center on Early Childhood Development, Teaching, and Learning at 0 to 3. She is also the author of the book, Every Child Can Fly, an Early Childhood Educator's Guide to Inclusion. Jani, now you partnered with us previously for a virtual workshop in which you shared a little bit about your life and experiences that allow you to bring a very unique perspective to the topic of inclusion of young children with disabilities in early childhood settings. Can you share a bit about that now?
Sure. Thank you, Nicole. Thanks for having me on. Nice to be with you. I really so much enjoyed being with the Early Childhood Leadership Institute folks this past summer. It's always nice to be with kindred spirits that have a passion for inclusion, like I do, like you do. So I really enjoyed that. And I bring a unique perspective to this work in that I am a person with a disability myself, an early childhood professional with a disability. I have a form of dwarfism, and so I have bionic legs. My hips and knees and ankles are replaced. They say you can't be replaced, but I tell you, you can be replaced from the waist down because that's what I have going on. But I'm also the mother of a son with a disability and the daughter of a father with a disability. And so, it's been a passion of mine to speak up for marginalized populations and specifically for children with disabilities. So that's really a passion of mine.
Love that. You have the perspective from all sides. And what a wealth of knowledge and experience that brings.
Oh,
What does the research tell us about inclusion?
Yeah, so we really, it's a passion from my own experiences, but also from the research, because we do have a significant body of research over these years that has shown us that inclusion in early childhood in particular is super important, and it sets the trajectory for children. Inclusion in early childhood then leads to inclusion in elementary school, middle school, high school, in life, and the research has shown that inclusion benefits kids with disabilities and without disabilities. We see higher level gains across all areas of development for both populations of kids. The research has shown that social skills are really improved in inclusive settings, language and literacy skills, see lots of gains. And it makes a lot of sense, logically. And if you think about kids without disabilities, the fact that they, in inclusive classrooms, what we know is that they build social skills, empathy, and they're able to see a range of the human condition, because that's what disability is. It's just a natural part of the human condition. And so they get the benefit of seeing children succeed in spite of challenges and become more accepting as a result. And the research has also shown that inclusion has a lot of benefits for educators too, and systems. Educators benefit from having the chance to interact with other professionals, the therapists that come in, or early childhood special educators that might come in to support in an inclusive classroom is a real benefit for early childhood teachers. And we know it doesn't cost more. Inclusive classrooms are actually a cheaper way to go than having a school district build a brick and mortar building and fund the whole thing. Whereas partnering with a Head Start program or a childcare program or state pre-K is much more affordable way to go. So the research has really uncovered all kinds of benefits. So across children with and without disabilities and educators and systems.
Yeah. It sounds like it just makes sense across the board.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, if a teacher wants to help a family that is concerned about their child's development, what would be a good starting point?
Well, I think that's a really good question. And, I think first, we always just have to remember that it's a sensitive topic. We all have dreams for our child. We have a picture in our minds of what parenting or raising a child is going to look like. And it can be upsetting that for a family member to learn that their child's teacher has a concern. So, when teachers ask me about how to go about this, I think, first of all, to do it with sensitivity and to not make assumptions. I hear a lot about teachers saying, we want to refer this child, but the family is in denial. They don't believe it that their child has a disability. And I tend to push back on that because we really don't know if denial is what's going on. Maybe they aren't seeing the behavior at home. Maybe they have already talked with a physician about it and the physician said, let's wait and see. I mean, there could be all kinds of reasons.
Mhm.
And when I was parenting my own son and his teachers first came to us with some concerns, I wasn't seeing the behaviors at home. We had seen some early signs of ADHD, some impulsivity and hyperactivity, but it was something that we could adjust and accommodate at home. And his teacher told me, well, Jani, let me tell you how it plays out here at circle time. And all the other kids are sitting in circle time and listening to the story. And Ricky is underneath my desk looking at the hardware. So, hearing that story and having that kind of sensitive way of explaining what she was seeing was really helpful to me. But I think the first step for families and parents that have a concern should first be to talk with a doctor or health professional about these concerns, or seek support from early intervention if the child is under the age of 3, or early childhood special education if the child is 5 or under. And so those programs are in place to provide evaluations and supports for families. The professionals in childcare or Head Start can call the local early intervention program or local public school program themselves and ask about the evaluation process and what's the referral process there, and really support family members through that process, because children can only be evaluated once the family member, parent or guardian, provides that written permission. So once a parent agrees to an evaluation, then they're not agreeing to services, but they're agreeing to an evaluation. And as early childhood professionals, we can really be a partner in that process. So I also want to put in a plug for the parent centers that the Office of Special Education funds across the country. There's a parent center in each state. Every state has a parent training and information center or a community parent resource center. And you can find out what program is available in your state by going to Parent Center Hub. And if you just Google Parent Center Hub, it'll come up, and there's a place where you can click to find out the contact information for your state.
Wonderful. That's like a very important resource for parents.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Jani. Now, how would you describe an inclusive learning environment?
Well, an inclusive learning environment, I guess, is pretty much just like every other learning environment. It's a place where there's an appreciation for children's strengths and interests, and lots of opportunities for growth and learning and development. A place where every child can be successful as long as the right conditions are met. And as early childhood educators, we have this opportunity to think differently about education. We have the opportunity to have an open mind to children of all abilities, and to see our places as a place for each and every child, so that An inclusive learning environment is one that can be individualized for diverse learning styles, activities that are modified, or curriculum accommodations, so that every child has the chance to explore and learn and play and interact with peers. And I think about the three defining features of inclusion that the position statement, in 2009, the Early Childhood Professional Organizations, NAEYC and DEC, put out a position statement with a definition of inclusion. And they talked about the fact that inclusion is really dependent on access, participation, and supports. So there's three key defining features. And so if you think about it, an inclusive learning environment is not just one where children can get in the door. It's not just about a ramp at the front entrance or enough space for a wheelchair to go through. It's about engaging all learners and using concepts of universal design that we talked about during this session, being intentional about thinking about learning spaces and how to individualize, incorporating assistive technology and other strategies. But it's also about participation and thinking about how to engage all learners, using instructional approaches that are engaging, and finding ways to incorporate learning goals that are in the IFSP or the IEP, the plans that are written that outline the services a child will receive if they need special services to accommodate for their disability. And then the supports piece is all part of, having the professional development that's necessary and having the incentives and the financial supports that are needed. And so all three of those things are necessary when we think about what an inclusive learning environment looks like. So they're all three important. And I also just wanted to say the Early Childhood TA Center, where I come from, has a set of indicators of high quality inclusion. And there is a set of indicators that we developed in partnership with the pyramid model folks. And they're called Early Care and Environment Indicators. And so those are available on our website. We can maybe put a link on to go along with this. But those are also a great place to start if you're looking at, how do we define a quality, inclusive learning environment?
Wonderful. Thank you. Now, final thoughts. So what is one key concept to remember for educators that want to be able to support each and every child in their program?
I had to pick one thing. I think it would be just to always remember to consider the child's perspective. When my son was in 7th grade, he read To Kill a Mockingbird. And I don't know if you remember that book, but the lead character talked about always putting yourself in someone else's moccasins. And so thinking about how this child is perceiving this place or these relationships from their own perspective. And as educators, if we do that for each and every child, we're going to be able to hit a home run when it comes to individualization. As adults, we come in and we want to be the helper or the fixer, and that might be the right approach, but it also might not. And it really depends on what is going on in the situation from that child's point of view. And we might come to a different decision if we consider, if we put ourselves in that child's shoes. Thinking about the circle time example from when my son was little, if a child is not engaging in circle time, we might ask ourselves, well, what's this experience like in circle time for this child? Is it engaging? Is it fun? Is it content that they might be interested in? How long is circle time? Is it reasonable to have a child be able to sit for that long? What kinds of options are available for individualized learning? And even what might be going on at home for that child? And what are the other factors that might be contributing to this environment and the experience that you're seeing? So all of that really depends on that coming back, considering the child's perspective, and using some creativity to make some decisions about how best to support the child from there.
Yeah, I
So,
love that. Such an important initial foundational step. Consider the child's perspective. Uh,
so easy to forget that, though. We get so caught up in our role as educator or visitor that it's easy to forget that.
Absolutely. Jani, I just want to thank you for sharing more of your expertise with us. And I'm hoping that the viewers will want to dig into this topic deeper. You also shared several resources. So thank you again for sharing those important resources.
Thank you, Nicole. And if you want to learn more, you can check out my book. It's called Every Child Can Fly, an Early Childhood Educator's Guide to Inclusion. And I did include a bunch of stories from my own life and from my experience as a teacher myself. I was a preschool teacher to start out with. Um, and I also include stories about how it felt to parent a child with a disability and my own experiences. So I hope that the book can be helpful to people that are watching this. And yeah, I'm excited for it to get in the hands of educators so that I can learn my how to improve it maybe. And I'm writing a book for families next. And so anyway, super excited to have it out there in the world and to find out how others are experiencing the strategies that I suggest in the books. Anyway, thanks
Wonderful.
for letting me share.
Absolutely. It's a wonderful resource, and I'll look forward to the second one on the way.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Jani.
Okay, thanks, Nicole.